Well, good morning and welcome to lesson 16 of A Course in Miracles. I have no neutral thoughts. I really like this lesson because it introduces the idea that all thoughts have power, right? And that the idea that we think that our thoughts don't affect anything, or that our thoughts don't mean anything, not really that they don't mean anything, that they don't have an effect on our lives, right, one way or the other, is not true. Our thoughts do have an effect on our lives. We're constantly projecting our thoughts in the form of fear out there onto the blank landscape of the world and getting the results of our thinking. So our thoughts are incredibly powerful. When you look at the nature of, just putting my finger on my own nose, when I look at my life, for example, on a day-to-day basis, and see in every moment wherein I'm consciously choosing to live in peace or live with conflict and grievance and things like that. So lesson 16 is awesome. It just puts it into perspective, that you really have to be vigilant for your own peace of mind in every relationship, in every situation, and value that peace above all else. All right, so lesson 16, I have no neutral thoughts. The idea for today is a beginning step in dispelling the belief that your thoughts have no effect. Everything you see is the result of your thoughts. There is no exception to this fact. All right? Thoughts are not big or little, powerful or weak. They are merely true or false. Those which are true create their own likeness. Those which are false make theirs. Right? You have two ways to see, love or fear. You're going to get the results of that seeing either way. And that seeing comes from how you choose to think. There is no more self-contradictory concept than that of idle thoughts. What gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle. Every thought you have contributes to truth or to illusion. Either it extends the truth or it multiplies illusions. You can indeed multiply nothing, but you will not extend it by doing so. In addition to never being idle, salvation requires that you recognize that every thought you have brings either peace or war, either love or fear. A neutral result is impossible because a neutral thought is impossible. There is such a temptation to dismiss fear thoughts as unimportant, trivial, and not worth bothering about, that it is essential you recognize them as equally destructive, but equally unreal. We will practice this idea in many forms before you really understand it. Right? So there is such a temptation to dismiss fear thoughts as unimportant, trivial, not worth bothering about, that it is essential you recognize them all as equally destructive, but equally unreal. We will practice this idea in many forms before you really understand it. In applying the idea for today, search your mind for a minute or so with eyes closed and actively seek not to overlook any little thought which tends to elude the search. This is quite difficult until you get used to it. You will find that it is still hard for you not to make artificial distinctions. Every thought that occurs to you, regardless of the quality which you assign to it, is a suitable subject for applying today's idea. In the practice periods, first repeat the idea, and then as each one crosses your mind, hold it in awareness while you tell yourself, this thought about blank is not a neutral thought, that thought about blank is not a neutral thought. As usual, use today's idea whenever you are aware of a particular thought which arouses uneasiness. The following form is suggested for this purpose. This thought about blank is not a neutral thought because I have no neutral thoughts. 4 or 5 practice periods are recommended if you find them relatively effortless. If strain is experienced, 3 will be enough. The length of the exercise period should also be reduced if there is discomfort. Right, so the mind training that you're undertaking here is not necessarily and specifically just about realizing that your thoughts have power, but it's about taking responsibility for those thoughts as being the catalysts for the experience that you have in the world. And I meet a lot of people around who say, oh, I manifested this sickness, or I manifested that, who are sort of catching on to the idea that their thoughts have power. And it's not hard to prove that. I mean, even modern medicine now says if you're somebody who's highly stressed or whatever, you're likely to have a physical ailment related to that, a heart attack or something like that. If your blood level goes high and this and that and the other, because we're responding to our thoughts. Right? Our thoughts in that simple example are making or manifesting the reality that we experience. It may not be actual reality as in the eternal reality that we are from or we are part of in truth, right? But the experience with which we find ourselves is, let's say, as the human journey or the journey of the soul is important, because it offers us, this whole 24/7 daily experience offers us unlimited opportunities to transcend the nature of our dualistic thinking, or transform the nature of our dualistic thinking, wherein through taking responsibility for the thoughts that we have by realizing that they're not neutral and that they affect us, we begin to learn that our greater good and the greater good of our fellows is the same. Can you see that? And many wars have been started by people not realizing that. Many conflicts, and on a small scale, big scale. It's kind of crazy. When you realize that your thoughts are not neutral, you sort of pull yourself up and it's like, whoa, what am I thinking today? What thoughts are crossing my mind? What is it here in my mind that I'm saying, oh, that thought doesn't matter, and I'm just pushing it away, projecting it out? I thought about all sorts of different things, right? Makes you become more consciously aware, that being vigilant for inner peace, and then allowing the world to reveal itself to you from that perspective is paramount if you intend to exit the third dimension, let's say, or move on in the journey of the soul to whatever's next for you. And so that's a really, when you really hear that, it's like one of those light bulb moments for me. It's one of those like, oh my God, literally, oh my God. All right, well, that's it. I don't think I need to elaborate on that anymore. And thanks for the opportunity to do so. It's like it's reminding me in this moment here, in being given this opportunity to do these lessons, is reminding me that my thoughts are not neutral, and that the world I see is the result of my thinking. So I hope I hear myself say that. All right, I love you. And tomorrow we'll do lesson 17, I see no neutral things. So that's about it. If you want the white copy, just jump online, order yourself book A if you want to know what's different from the course book you've already got. And if you don't have the course at all, you can get book A and book B, part A and part B, which is the complete Course in Miracles as it was intended. All right, I love you. Bye.